All right, let's go straight to the point. How to make your first $10,000 online with your personal brand. All right, so I want you guys to understand this simple point right here. Making $10,000 is not such an ambitious goal. Like, you guys have to detach from the perspective that you guys may have about money. All right, this is the first step. If you guys have never done $10,000, I'm pretty sure that's gonna be like a really high goal, right? You guys, for example, right now I've been making $1,000, $2,000 in Colombia, and that's a lot. So $10,000 is like, damn, that's a fucking lot, when it actually isn't. Making $10,000 in 1990 with zero budget, starting from zero, was not as easy as it is right now. Right now we have content creation. In 1990, there was no content creation, there was no online platforms, there was no even internet, bro. It was really hard for you to get a lot of people, reach a lot of people that would get to know who you are. If I was selling, for example, this product, I was restricted to a really small group of people. Right now, that's not the case. Right now, we're not depending on a physical store. Right now, we're not depending on a small group of people to buy our stuff. Right now, we have access to the whole world. I can be making this video right now in Colombia, and you guys are seeing it in the USA, you guys are seeing it in Canada, United Kingdom. I can reach a bigger audience from my house, from my apartment. I can sell digital products. I don't have to even create a product that has a lot of cost of creation. I can just sell ebooks, I can just sell online courses, I can just put my service online. This is pretty simple, this is pretty self-explanatory. I don't want to get in deep. I just want you guys to understand that $10,000 is not that much, because we have the opportunity to reach a lot of people through internet right now. Now let's talk about how I'm planning to do all this stuff step by step. So we already know that we're gonna be making money through content creation. So we're not gonna be these kind of influencers. We're not gonna be doing these kind of videos, right? We're trying to build a brand that's profitable, scalable, and sustainable in time. This is very important. So in my experience, when creating personal brands for other people, brand owners, influencers, course sellers, artists, they all have in common three things, right? They have to be authentic, they have to be profitable, and they have to be sustainable. How the fuck do you build this shit? In order for you to do this, you have to understand that you have to pick a niche. This is your first step. How do you find and pick your niche? The basic point when you're creating a personal brand, in order for it to be authentic, it all comes down to this simple idea. You have to understand your ideal customer, or your ICP. So the simplest way to solve this question of who I am going to sell my products or services, it's basically going to be yourself 10 years ago, 5 years ago, and I'm gonna explain later why. That way we're gonna build something that's authentic. Of course, it has to be something that's profitable. And how do I make sure my niche is profitable, right? This is gonna be very simple. So we have a little equation right here. First, you have to find a big group of people who find themselves in a big pain. They either have problems with their businesses, with scaling, with their ads. They probably have a problem with their wife, relationships, or life overall. The bigger the pain, the more money you can charge them for solving their problem. The second characteristic you have to take into account is that they need to have purchasing power. Right? It doesn't matter if they're in a big pain, if they don't have enough money to afford fixing their problems. It doesn't matter how good you are at marketing, it doesn't matter how good you are at selling, they're simply not gonna pay. And the last step is that they're gonna be easy to find. So since we're creating a personal brand, in order for you to reach these leads, it's gonna be through content. And since most people nowadays spend from 6 to 8 hours a day on their phone, you just have to identify which platform they use the most. We're gonna see that more in advance later. So in order for you to understand this, we have like this equation that I took from Alex Hormozi, and that's pretty simple. So now we understand we're gonna be solving problems online, because we're not gonna be influencers, we're not gonna be monetizing from social media. Our way to make money is gonna be taking money from other people by solving their problems. The bigger the problem, the more money you can charge, right? And the best way that I've found that you can make the most amount of money is making other people more money. So for example, let's say I have an offer on the market and it costs around, I don't know, let's say it costs $4,000 to pay for my services, right? So my product or services is worth $4,000, right? this is what my program costs. That might sound expensive, but if the program I'm offering for $4,000 actually gives the person who paid $4,000 around $10,000, it's gonna be worth it, and people are gonna be willing to pay you for that. So in order for you to charge higher prices, you gotta help people make more money. The only way for you to make more money is helping other people make more money. That's the best way. We're gonna go and understand how you guys are gonna monetize this shit, and personally how I'm planning to monetize my first $10,000, right? So I'm doing it through a WAP community, which is the easiest way because you don't have to invest in products, you don't have to have big capital for you to start, you just have to start creating content. And of course, having a valuable service that you can charge a lot of money for. And this is where the brand creation starts. This is when you start making money out of creating content, just like you see everyone else on the internet. So how do you create a brand? This is gonna be very simple. This is my favorite part. You have to first find your identity. It seems pretty simple, but in order for you to make people pay you through social media, you have to take into account that these people probably have never seen you in your life. They don't know who you are. They have never seen you in person. So how do we solve that? By creating a brand and by creating a personal brand. So the first step is gonna be building your identity. This is gonna be building trust with your audience, right? This is very simple. And how do you do it? In my personal case, I have a strong message that really connects with my personality, with my way of seeing life. So it means that's unique and make people connect with you. So think of this. This is gonna be very simple. When you think of an identity, you're gonna have to think like if you were making friends, right? And you just have to think of how you make friends in life. All the friends you've had through your whole life, how has that relationship been built? Was that a forced relationship where you were obliged? Let me see how you say that, because I have no fucking idea. How do you fucking say that?
Obliged.
Obliged. So we don't make friends when we feel obliged to do so, right? If that's how you fucking say it. We make friends because we connect with other people. So this is pretty simple, and this is actually gonna help you know what kind of content you should be creating in your personal brand, because the end goal is of course to take other people's money, but first, in order for you to get this right here, you have to pass through this part right here, which is connecting with other people. And the only way for you to connect with other people and make friends online through your social media content is not gonna be creating a forced relationship where you don't show yourself authentic, where you don't show yourself who you are as a person. It's not gonna be telling people all the time to buy your stuff, because that's not how people take buying decisions, right? So first, you have to make your audience your friends. Think of how you make friends on a regular day. So how do you make friends? This is pretty simple. You are friends with the people that you connect with, that you have similar interests, that you have similar hobbies, that you have a similar mindset, and that you have the same goals, right? So when you start showing these to other people online, people are gonna relate to that content. When you show yourself as a real person, when you show your deepest thoughts, when you share value-based content that's gonna help other people reach their own interest, you are gonna connect with them and they're gonna see you as a friend. Why is this shit so important, right? Why do we have to take these points so fucking serious? Because your competence right now is probably on the same market in you, is offering the exact same solution, it has the exact same offer, it has a similar pricing, it has the same pitch, it just looks the exact same, right? On the other hand, we have you as fuck. You are creating emotional connection and therefore you're getting the big bag. It's that simple. It's not that complicated, right? So in order for you to make people give you their money, you have to become the best at creating emotional connection, because what you want overall is people seeing you as the authority in your niche, and even more than that, you want people to see you as the big brother who they can trust. You want them to see you as a person who they trust, as a person they can ask for advice. I'm selling a community, and that community has a soul, which I am communicating, because the community itself cannot communicate. If I take this product to the market, this product may have the biggest soul, it may have the biggest message, but the product itself cannot communicate, right? If I see the product right here, it might have the logo, it might have the slogan, but the product itself cannot communicate, cannot market itself. So that's when you come in place, right? So in my case, purple, as you guys can see in the background, I hope you guys can see it. Purple is a brotherhood of young creators who believe that life without purpose is not life, it's not worth living. So we see life as a single opportunity. We choose to live it intentionally and not waste our potential and not waste our lives, right? So this is what I'm communicating behind my brand. It's also the message that's behind my personal brand, and it's also the message that I'm taking to the whole world, right? So we have a part that says pricing right here. That's not really important. So I have this pricing part because you need to have clear how much you're going to be charging in order for you to make your first $10,000, right? In my case, I know I'm going to be charging $97 for my community. That's going to be in the description below. So right now, so if the price is $97 lifetime, you guys are probably in a good time because it's the launching offer that I have. Once the course is completed, the course is gonna be $97 a month, and I only need 102 person, and I only need 100 people to join in order for me to be making $10,000 every single month. So that's pretty simple. If you guys click the link below and the price is still $97 lifetime, you guys better take that because this pricing may change. All right. So once we understood this whole point, we're gonna go to your avatar, right? Basically, this is what we were talking. You have to know, once you pick your niche, you have to understand pretty well who your niche is. And remember, I told you that connecting with your avatar and making the avatar your best friend is going to be very important. That's why I told you before that your avatar should be yourself 5 or 10 years ago. If what we want to do is create connections and make friends online, you cannot be selling, I don't know, let's say I'm talking about cars on my personal brands because my avatar likes cars, but I don't give a fuck about cars. I don't give a fuck about engines. I don't care about it. I don't like it at all. What I'm gonna be doing is I'm gonna be forcing that relationship, right? And that's what we don't want to do. We don't want to create a forced relationship. And the point when you're creating a personal brand is that people notice. So basically in this part right here is for you to, once you have your niche clear, once you have your identity clear, you have to make long ass description of who your avatar is, right? What he likes, what he doesn't like, what his goals are, all this kind of stuff that are gonna, for example, in my case, it's just people who want to create content and make money. That's like the simplest description. I want to share the description with you guys if you guys want to read it. This is basically my own market research, and it's basically not only on the research I made, but this is basically me a year ago, right? It doesn't even have to be that far away in time. Like this is me 1 or 2 years ago. I had no idea of anything that I know now, and this is what I'm selling. This is the transformation that I'm offering, right? This is gonna be very important. So we're gonna get to a point where you're gonna have to make a long ass list of who your client is and who your client is not, right? Who is gonna buy your products? Who's gonna buy your services? And who needs it the most? Because you're gonna end up with a list of different profiles that, for example, I'm gonna put my exact same case, right? So before we hop into this, I just want you guys to have completely clear in your mind that this avatar that you guys, this shit you don't create your avatar. You find out this information, right? You don't create it. You don't make that up. It already exists. We as humans are not that different. We're not that unique. Things you like, the things you were struggling with, the things you desire. Basically, I would say 80 to 70% of the population wants that thing as well. Or there's gonna be a big amount of people that have similar interests than you, that have the same goals, and they probably haven't passed through or haven't been in the point that they realize what the solution of their problems is. And I'm gonna put a real example right. In my case, let's say I want you guys to understand who I am. I am a content creator since I was like 12 years old. I loved cameras, I loved all this kind of stuff. Let's say in my niche, which is content creation, I had these different profiles of people who might need my service, because you cannot serve everybody. That's the point, or you should not. At least you should not. This is the list of profiles. So in my personal experience, holy shit, one profile that would need my ability, my services, and all my skills would be videographers, right? That was the first thing that came to my mind when I was trying to figure all this shit out. So videographers that didn't have the skill set, that they didn't know what to do. A lot of people would tell me like, hey, you should have your own course to videographers who don't know how to set their camera, they don't know how to make money, they don't know what to charge and all this kind of stuff. So this could be a profile. What was the problem with this profile? I didn't feel identified with this profile because in my own experience, I don't like being called a videographer. So I wouldn't be sharing like this genuine content because I basically don't feel related with this kind of profile. Videographers who were struggling to make money, they were probably right here with a low purchasing power, right? And I don't want that. So when I've been creating content for my agency, I've been struggling to get good clients, and it was because I was aiming the wrong audience. So in my early days, I was reaching restaurants and they didn't have enough money to pay for my services. So I wouldn't be making more than $500, $1,000 a month. That's too low, but in Colombia it's like a fucking lot. Those were people with a lot more purchasing power and in a bigger need because my content was able to make them way more money, right? Therefore I could charge a lot more money. So this is really short. You guys should be making like a long ass list of all the profiles who your client might be. This description right here is the one I actually choose. So in my personal experience, I don't want to be talking to videographers because basically you don't feel identified with that profile. So therefore my communication is not going to be genuine. My communication is not going to be authentic, right? So small business owners, they could need my service, they could need my information, but they don't have enough money to pay for my services. So it's going to be way harder. And coaches and consultants, that's actually the one I chose. I've been working with coaches, consultants, people who sell shit online. So once I have this clear, I want to make a market research and I want to make a long as description of who my client might be. So in my case, it's basically people who could be entrepreneurs, people who can be entrepreneurs, marketer, coach, consultants, you see it, I have it right here, knowledge-based creators, or just regular people with real value who wants to monetize it and actually has money to pay for my services, right? I don't want to serve people who want to be filmmakers because that's not where I find myself that I can position better. This is with matter of time that you guys are gonna understand and you guys are gonna feel better with certain type of persons, and you guys are gonna feel better with helping certain type of persons rather than these other type of person. I hope I'm making myself clear. When you guys are making this list, I want you guys to think of this simple thing right here. Who I can help the most. And this is gonna tell you who your client is. And at the same time, it's gonna allow you to understand who your client is not. And this is very important because this is what's going to define the whole communication of your personal brand. Of course, we're not gonna be niched down into only talking to a specific ICP because that's not what we want, but it's gonna help us filter the people that join our funnel, the people that we're talking, the people that we're selling, the people that we're trying to take their money, just for you to understand, and the people that we're trying to help, right? Because for example, I can probably help someone to get viral, right? That's actually not that hard, because for you to go viral, just go out there, slap your grandma, film it with your iPhone, upload it to TikTok, and that's gonna get people commenting why you do that. But I don't help that kind of people. I help people who want to make real money. Once we have that clear, once we understand who your client is and who your client is not, you have to identify from all the things that your avatar wants, what's the dream outcome that they want. I want to put this real simple for you guys, right? You guys have to become a problem solver, and in order for you to understand this, your job is gonna be take the prospect from point A to point B. Point A being their pain point, right? In my case, it's the pain point of my avatar is just that they don't know how to create an authentic and magnetic personal brand to make more money online. That's it. Point B is basically the point where they want to be, is where they position themselves as the biggest reference in their niche with professional content that drives sales 24/7. So I want you guys to understand this like if your avatar was on a fucking island. They don't have food, they don't have water to drink, they don't have company, they don't have friends, they don't have shit. They find themselves in a position where their dream outcome would be to go to Island B. Island B is a place where they have food, it's a place where they have friends, it's a place where there's a bunch of girls, and in simple words, to be in a place where they're not gonna die. So I want you guys to understand this point, like this example I just made up real quick right here. So this is your prospect in a pain point. This is of course a real stream example, because in this example it's pretty clear that our prospect does not have food, he does not have water. He wants to go to their dream outcome, which is to live in a fucking rich island, right? There's an island that's right in front of him. This island is right in front of him. And your product or service, it was gonna be the vehicle for him to reach that goal. So if your prospect is in this island, this vehicle right here, this is gonna be your service, which is basically the vehicle to the transformation or dream outcome that you're promising in your offer. So there's something really important right here, and is that if your offer is weak, if your prospect does not think that your vehicle is actually gonna take it there, he's not gonna buy your product. We're back with recording, so we're gonna make a video talking more in deep about this topic and how to create a good offer that actually your prospect thinks is the best option. But if, let's say, from all the different options and offer that your prospect is seeing online, you are the one he trusts the most because he's already seen you, he sees you as his friend, he has this emotional connection with you and your product, he's gonna definitely take your offer, right? So this is just for you guys to understand how this shit works and how you're gonna have to become a problem solver in order for you to make a big ton of money. This is the last step. I want you guys to understand this very clear, because this is what's gonna make you create a good offer, right? You can come up with a list of problems that you know you're good at solving, but the end goal is for you to solve the problems that your prospect is actually struggling with day to day in their life. So this information, you must take it out from a market research. Best way for you to know this kind of information is that you have been the avatar before. So in my personal experience, I've been the content creator who does not know how to make good videos. I've been the content creator who does not know how to make money. So I've had all these problems that I know are real life problems, right? Because those are the ones you're gonna have to be focusing on solving. Those are gonna be the problems that your prospects are gonna be way more likely to pay you big amount of money in order for you to solve their problems, in order for you to take them from point A to point B. Pretty simple. So I have a quick tip for you that's gonna help you make this list with real information. So this is a pretty fun exercise to do, and it helps a lot when you have been the avatar before. So that's why I say it's pretty important for the business to be extremely related with the owner, right? I know I'm gonna be very successful in this niche because this idea, this business, this offer, this solution is really connected with who I am, with who I was, with the problems I had, with the problems I solved for myself. If you guys need help with all this kind of stuff, you guys just go to WUP, where all the information about this topic is, where we have a community of all creators helping with each other, and you guys have access to me on group calls talking about these concepts, explaining these more in detail, giving real life examples so you guys can grow, build, and scale your personal brand and your income overall, right? So this exercise is pretty simple. I don't know why, fuck. So this exercise is pretty simple. So you just have to go in the journey of your prospect, right? So let's go back to this example of John's. Let's call this motherfucker John, right? This is John. You guys have to think of all the process that your prospect may experience in order for him to reach the final goal. So we're gonna make the example with John. So I'm gonna make my list. Probably I'm gonna connect this shit to here. So in order for John to get from island A to island B, first thing he could do is swim by himself. And the first problem he's gonna experience is he's not gonna be able to swim that long. So he needs help with that shit. That's one problem. So if John cannot swim, he must have a vehicle. So John does not have a vehicle. So John does not have a vehicle. That's another problem he have. Those are things that are limiting John to get to his dream outcome, right? Let's say, for example, in my own case, let's put myself as an example. I'm the best example right here because I have this shit clear. Creators, pretty simple. Right here, they don't know how to create an authentic and magnetic brand, all this kind of shit. And I was actually kind of creating my own list right here. So I'm gonna do it right here with you guys. They don't have equipment, because if they had good equipment, that's what they think, they would be more likely to reach their goal, right? Okay, now think, if they already had the equipment, what would be another problem that would be separating them from achieving their goal? They don't know how to use the equipment. So for example, they have a phone. They don't know how to make cinematic content with their phone. Know what to say, right? They don't know what to say. That's another problem. And once they know what to say, probably they don't have a strategy, right? They don't have a strategy with their content. And let's say they have solved all this thing with their content. They don't have a good product to offer, right? They don't know how to scale their content. All right, let's say they have a good offer, they're doing good, but probably they don't know how to scale. And I can solve. So this is pretty simple, right? Because it just came to my mind. I'm not doing the exercise completely, but you have to sit down quietly and do this exercise. Do a long as list. Help yourself with GPT or any AI that you're using to fill out all this list. Because what this is gonna help you is give you a big list of ideas of things that you can solve and you can implement in your offer. So in my offer, I know that I need to help my prospect with this problem specifically, right? I've done my market research previously. I know these ones are some of the things that I need to help my prospect with. What this list is gonna give you, again, is gonna give you a long ass list of problems that you guys can solve. And like we said before, the more problems you solve, the more money you make, the more you help other people, the more you're gonna be helping yourself. So with this list of ideas, basically it's gonna give you solutions that you're going to be offering in your product itself. It's going to give you content ideas. This is the most important part, because this is going to give you topics to talk about on your videos. So you can talk about of how you don't need the best equipment for you to start your personal brand. Okay, you can talk about how you can use your iPhone. For example, in my case, I can talk about how you guys can use your iPhone to create cinematic content without spending a lot of fucking money on a camera that you're not gonna be needing, right? That you guys are not gonna need. So I can start making content about what to say on their content, how they can communicate. Like this, for example, this point right here, I'm solving this problem. I'm telling you guys what you guys can say in your videos, and it's strategic, and it's pretty strategic, because it all comes because all those ideas comes from all this investigation that you guys already have and all this knowledge that you guys already have. So you're more likely to film a video talking about a specific topic and finding more success. So this is gonna be this is pretty simple. This is basically all of it, and it all takes us to the last point. You don't need to go viral. So when you're creating a personal brand, you're gonna notice that you're not gonna go viral 100% of the time. And this is completely okay. This is actually what you want. Because when you're creating viral content, you're basically gonna be finding yourself doing viral reels, copying other content from other people, and that's not authentic. That's gonna help you reach a bigger audience and people get to know who you are and see you, recognize your face. But that content is not gonna convert directly on your business, right? That content is not gonna convert viewers to customers. It's gonna attract eyeballs, but it's not gonna make you money. So you don't need to go viral 100% of the time, because this kind of content right here, most of the time it doesn't go viral, and it doesn't have to do so. All you have to do is reach, let's say, a small, right? It's not small, but let's say a small pocket audience that are struggling with these exact problems that you have. Now all the content that you're doing, it doesn't have to be value-based content. I have a completely different strategy that allows you to create a big personal brand that doesn't make you look like a fucking nerd, or that doesn't make you look like a boring ass person talking to a camera 100% of the time, because people go to social media to entertain themselves, right? They go to social media to entertain themselves. You have to understand the nature of the platforms that you're going to be using. YouTube is completely different from the content that you're going to be creating on TikTok. TikTok is completely different from the content that you're going to be creating on Instagram. So you don't need to be creating content professional 100% of the time either. Sometimes it's really good for you to just take out your phone and talk shit, or just, you don't even have to talk. So I have a completely proven strategy that I've used with my own clients, and I'm gonna start using with myself, so that I can prove myself and everybody that I know what I'm talking about. And it all's gonna be inside my community, so make sure to check the link in the description below. And that's basically it all for today's video. I hope that was very clear for you guys. I know it's pretty complex. You guys can just rewatch this video as many times as you want. Remember, this is one of the most important parts. Be conscious that this is not such an ambitious goal. It's actually pretty doable if you follow up this strategy. Just believe in yourself, brother. When you're creating a personal brand, it's also pretty linked with having personal development journey, right? This is going to be very important. We're going to talk about this topic inside our community, and we're going to talk about this topic also in this YouTube channel. So you make sure to sub up, make sure to subscribe, make sure to like, make sure to comment. I'm going to be trying to respond all of you guys on the comments, so feel free to comment, feel free to ask me whatever you guys want, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Pursue your purpose. Peace out.